Atlantis just about to reach the point called entry interface at an altitude of 397,000 feet, traveling 25 times the speed of sound, where temperatures around the orbiter will begin to build to around 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, providing a plasma trail across the Pacific Ocean and a bright orange glow around the orbiter. Atlantis about to begin a southwest to northeasterly swing across the Pacific Ocean, moving into darkness over the Pacific. Everything in order on board Atlantis. Good 3 hydraulic power units, 3 good fuel cells, and almost flawless 2 weeks in orbit for the shuttle Atlantis. Commander Steve Lindsay at the controls, along with pilot Charlie Hobaugh, joined on the flight deck by Janet Cavandi and Jim Riley. Mike Gernhardt seated alone down on the middeck for this evening's entry and landing to the Kennedy Space Center. Purpose computers on board Atlantis transitioning to what is known as Major Mode 304. This is the phase of the entry in which the onboard computers are governing vehicle functions from the point of entry interface to the point of terminal area energy management, which is about 85,000 feet in altitude at 2.5 times the speed of sound, where Atlantis is commanded through a series of banking maneuvers to bleed off excess speed prior to its arrival at the heading alignment circle. That's the mythical point of reference for pilots for navigational updates and alignment to the runway at the proper velocity. Eight minutes from touchdown, everything continuing to proceed on track as Atlantis has approached the equator now, moving from southwest to northeast, currently traveling at an altitude of about 53 statute miles, range to touchdown 4,000 statute miles. Atlantis at an altitude of about 45 statute miles, range to touchdown 2,700 statute miles, dropping at a rate of about 64 feet per second. On the front screen of the shuttle flight control room here in Mission Control, you can see that Atlantis is right on the ground track, nearing the west coast of Central America. Time to touchdown 22 minutes. All of Atlantis' systems in excellent shape. 3 good auxiliary power units supporting all of the controllability of Atlantis' functions as it continues to dissipate energy through a series of role reversals and S-curves built into the onboard computer program. Commander Steve Lindsay will take over manual control of the flying of Atlantis about 3.5 minutes from touchdown as he executes an overhead left-hand turn of 241 degrees following the orbiters going subsonic. Currently traveling about 21 times the speed of sound at an altitude of about 43 statute miles, range to touchdown 1,700 miles from the Kennedy Space Center, dropping at a rate of about 93 feet per second. Nearing the coast of Central America, currently at an altitude of 41 statute miles. Its speed slowly but surely being reduced, now about 19 times the speed of sound, range to touchdown 1,400 statute miles from runway 15. Atlantis skirting up the eastern portion of the Yucatan Peninsula, now just 15 minutes from touchdown at the Kennedy Space Center. Current altitude 37 statute miles, range to touchdown 918 statute miles, everything in order, everything in great shape aboard Atlantis. About 1 minute out from having data acquired through the Merritt Island tracking station near the Kennedy Space Center.
Atlantis, Houston, take TACANS.
Copy, taking TACANS.
TACANS are the Tactical Air Navigation Units, 3 redundant units aboard the orbiter, which receive tactical data on range, elevation, and bearing from radio beacons located at the landing site.
Atlantis, Houston, energy, ground track, and nav are go. We are predicting touchdown at 2,352 feet at 195 knots. Speed brake 23% at 3K, closing to 18%.
Yeah, we copy all of that, Gus.
Atlantis now traveling 7.5 times the speed of sound at an altitude of 148,000 feet, range to touchdown 285 statute miles, nearing the west coast of Florida near the Fort Myers area. Crossing the west coast of Florida, traveling 6 times the speed of sound, altitude 135,000 feet, dropping at a rate of 280 feet per second, range to touchdown 218 statute miles. Time to touchdown less than 10 minutes, everything in order aboard Atlantis. Commander Steve Lindsay and pilot Charlie Hobaugh at the controls. Atlantis, a very clean bird tonight, coming in for the 18th night landing in shuttle program history.
Atlantis Houston, voice check on UHF.
Houston, we'll be loud and clear on UHF.
Atlantis Houston, we copy. Thank you.
Atlantis just west of Lake Okeechobee, traveling 4.5 times the speed of sound at an altitude of 114,000 feet. Range to touchdown 145 statute miles.
Atlantis Houston, take air data.
Copy, taking air data.
That air data system consists of 2 probes located on each side of the orbiter's nose, which have pressure ports sensing impact and static pressures at various points to provide information to the general purpose computers regarding airspeed, the Mach numbers, the angle of attack, and the rate of descent. Atlantis now just under 7 minutes from touchdown at the Kennedy Space Center, traveling 2.5 times the speed of sound at an altitude of 87,000 feet, just 75 miles away from the landing strip at the Kennedy Space Center. This first view of Atlantis from infrared cameras at the landing site at the Kennedy Space Center. This view of Atlantis some 69 miles away from runway 15 at the Kennedy Space Center at an altitude of about 14 miles. Atlantis will soon go subsonic, announcing its arrival at the landing site with twin sonic booms.
Atlantis Houston, we see you on energy approaching the hack. No changes to winds or weather. Nominal drag chute deploy.
Copy all.
On final approach to the runway, Atlantis will descend at an angle 7 times steeper than that of a commercial jetliner prior to the flaring of the shuttle's nose by Commander Steve Lindsay to burn off excess speed prior to landing gear deployment. Once deployed by pilot Charlie Hobaugh, Atlantis' drag chute will unfurl almost 90 feet behind the shuttle, helping to slow Atlantis to preserve its tires and brakes. Commander Steve Lindsay has now taken over the flying of Atlantis. Atlantis announcing its arrival with twin sonic booms, now just 7 miles in altitude, approaching the heading alignment circle, which is the mythical point of reference pilots use to align their craft with the runway. Lindsay now beginning to execute an overhead left-hand turn of 241 degrees to align Atlantis with runway 15, the northwest to southeast approach to the 3-mile-long landing strip. Time to touchdown, 2 minutes 55 seconds.
Atlantis, on at the 180.
Copy, on at the 180.
Atlantis, on at the 90.
Roger, on at the 90.
Lindsay now aligning himself and his orbiter with runway 15 at the Kennedy Space Center. Less than 2 minutes from touchdown.
Field site, Houston.
Atlantis, Houston, roger.
This view from the pilot point of view camera, the heads-up display camera, you're looking from the flight deck of Atlantis. This is the view that Commander Steve Lindsay and pilot Charlie Hobaugh are seeing from the camera on board the flight deck of Atlantis. Steve Lindsay will flare up the orbiter's nose a short time from now. Hobaugh will drop the landing gear. Atlantis will set down on runway 15 to complete this flight. Pre-flare and work. Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Drag chute now being deployed. Nose gear touchdown. Atlantis rolling out on runway 15 at the Kennedy Space Center, wrapping up a 5.3 million mile mission to complete phase 2 of the assembly of the International Space Station.
We'll stop, Houston.
Atlantis Houston, roger. It looked like an outstanding landing after an outstanding mission. Well done, Steve, to you and your crew. We'll meet you on page 5-3 for post-landing. We have no deltas.
Copy, we're going to 5-3.
Convenience, you've got to go to get out of your LESs.
Copy that, Gus, thanks.
Spacecraft communicator Gus Loria here in Mission Control, giving Commander Steve Lindsay and his crew the green light to climb out of their launch and entry suits now that they're 15 minutes past the successful touchdown of Atlantis at the Kennedy Space Center. Atlantis in great shape will be towed into the orbiter processing facility in the wee hours on Wednesday morning to be prepared for its next flight, which is scheduled for late February of next year to carry the S0 truss, a huge external truss structure, to the International Space Station. The agency has accomplished over the past year, given the task, the magnitude of the hardware, and the budget constraints.
Very proud of the team. I think the folks in the station program that prepared the hardware, that integrated that hardware so that the station really has become a small city in the sky.
Out on the runway, the weather conditions are very pleasant. The temperature is approximately 81 degrees, and the winds are from the southeast at 4 knots. Here we see the just to the aft of Atlantis, the purge trailers being prepared for connection.